what transpired in my life. So I am born to a very loving mother and a loving father. I was not beaten when I was young. I was threatened to be beaten, yes, but I was never beaten. And I had a very easy, very nice childhood. And then I got married. Yes, I got married young. I got married at 20, but that was my choice. And all of a sudden, I'm in this life where I realized after 3 years that I am being abused. Mentally in the beginning, and then physically later on. And thinking back now, like, why did I allow myself to be abused? I had all the means to leave. I never told my family I was being abused. I kept it a secret because I was ashamed of what was going in my mind and what was going in my life. And I'm telling you this to later get on to what is self-empowerment. So it took me about 4 years to get out of that very unhealthy, and I say unhealthy because it's unhealthy for me, relationship. And all during this time, I believed I was getting what I deserved, but I was not worth, no, not even that. I believed that I had to stay there for different reasons. My children, what would people say? What would my family say? This is shameful. And I stayed there. I stayed there for 4 years. And then I left, thank God, and that has catapulted me to where I am now. And so answering what is self-empowerment to me, men do it all the time. Women, we forget to do it. Putting ourselves first. Realizing we're worth being first. Not family, not society, not work, not children. Putting ourselves and our needs first. Once we realize that we should be first, we fill our cup in order to give others. And for many years, I did not put myself first. And for many years, I was not self-empowered. I was disempowering myself by putting my children first, putting everyone ahead of me. So going back to your question, this has been my story, but it's also been the story of all the women we've worked with. Once they realize they come first, once they have that realization that they are worth it and they deserve and they have every right to put themselves first, that's when they're powerful. Because putting yourself first, forget what some people might say about it being selfish. No, it is selfless, because only by being powerful inside of myself can I support my family, my daughters, my friends, my coworkers, and bring out the best in them. Because once I put myself first, I will allow them to put themselves first. And this, for me, is true empowerment.
Merci, Princesse Intisar, pour ces paroles.
Thank you very much. It is a very strong way.
The reason I said it, and this is my story of shame, okay? And I'm saying it in public now. And this is one of the things we support our women to do. In private, in a safe place, to share their stories of shame, be them small or big. Because once they voice their stories of shame, their stories don't hold them anymore. They are free. They are liberated to be the true embodiment of who they are. I kept my story, except for very close people, very closed. Once I had the courage to say it out loud, it no longer shackles me. It no longer pulls me down. And this is what's allowed me not to really, this is what's allowed me to grow and thrive in my life. And this is exactly what happens with our women. When they act their stories, when they put themselves in the shoes of other women and give different options so that other women can see what options they are. When they stand up, they're standing straight, being courageous and speaking. Just being in the spotlight is very empowering, and also very scary, but also very empowering. Continue on what Her Excellency the Minister said. So in Kuwait, we have a different narrative or a different circumstances. We have more girls more girls getting higher grades to enter university than boys. And we've had this for many years. So the government had to put a quota for boys entering med school and engineering school, because if they didn't put a quota, you'd get 80 to 90% women and 10% men. So we do know how to put quotas for men. We still don't know how to put quotas for women, because men have demanded the quota. Women have still not demanded a quota of representation in everywhere in the country. So our women are very well educated, and I think Saudi have the same thing. The med school, they get the highest grades, they excel in school, they excel in university, and they start working, and then that's where their glass ceiling hits. Their glass ceiling is not to get high grades and enter medical school. They do that easily. It's when they hit the workplace that their glass ceiling gets there. So in spite of having the first female head of a national news agency, Kuna, the first female in the Arab world was in Kuwait. The first female to head a major university was from Kuwait. And we have a lot of success stories, but they're not connected yet. They work in silos. Yes, we get inspired by these amazing women, but we still have our own glass ceiling. I had my glass ceiling for a long time until I realized, oh my God, I am self-inflicting my pain. There is no glass ceiling to my thoughts, to my ambition. There is. The only glass ceiling is my thoughts and my ambition. And so for me, there's many things that can be done to break glass ceilings. Number one is for women to unite, because women are amazing collaborators. Once we collaborate, we can do miracles. Well, again, going back to university, for the university to put a quota on 50% women, 50% men, there was an outcry from men, right? Because they could not, families couldn't put their sons in schools, well, in university, because they weren't being accepted. So they changed the law. If there's an outcry from women, this is the biggest shattering of glass ceiling. An outcry for governmental representation, an outcry for parliamentary representation, an outcry for even foreign diplomatic representation. So far, in all three sectors, women are a very small factor. Even though in Kuwait, funny enough, women represent almost 50% of the workforce, yet in leadership, they have a very small representation. Is it the system? Is it the government? Or is it also our personal glass ceiling? I think it's all three. And I put 50% on our glass ceiling and the other 50% on all other factors. So for me, if when we choose in Kuwait to break our glass ceiling, we will unite and break it together, because we have to collaborate. We've been living for eons of years being told that men are superior. We need to believe that women are also just as superior, and we put ourselves first. Vulnerable refugees, but we're also working at the same time with SMEs, so female SMEs who were affected by the blast. For us, they're both conflicts, they're both wars, they're both crises. And interestingly enough, it's not funny, it's quite interesting that they both have the same story, the same narrative. This one is from an upper middle class. This one is from before she was a refugee, she was lower income and also a housewife. And this one is a businesswoman. And they both have the same thoughts in their heads. They both have that glass ceiling that they are unable to do more. They are unable to get out of the situation they're in. And so we've been supporting both, and we've seen changes in both. And it's interesting to see that one of the most vulnerable of all women, after the 4 months of drama therapy, imagine after 4 months, and she's done every kind of leadership program before. After 4 months, she realized, and this is going to shock you. Now, her husband is abusive. Her husband does not give them any money, and her husband has affairs in her bed. Okay, so this, and it's a really bad situation. After 4 months, she realized that she was making the money, he was taking it and beating her. It took her just 4 months of acting as the person she wanted to be to realize that she was making her money. It was her money. He had no right to take it. He had no right to beat her. He had no right to mistreat her. After 4 months, she decided to leave him and take their children because he was abusing all of them and live a new life. So the money was hers, but she accepted the abuse. So this is what I want to highlight, that even business women, it's not anything more than what they believe they're worth. And that's why I keep always advocating for is women should support other women, because when I support one woman, we break the glass roof for both. Imagine if I support 20 or 100 or 1,000 women. And as for quotas, my amazing, exceptionally glorious Chiara, I think you look beautiful today. The reason I say quotas in Kuwait, we don't have official parties. We have tribes and we have unofficial parties. And they're 100% male dominated. And our culture is so stuck in this male superiority complex. And I'll say complex because we're equal. Okay, no one's better than the other. That if the quota is not enforced by the government, women are not going to come out quickly from this old mentality of lack and low self-esteem. Tribe men will not allow women in unless they're forced to. Tribal women will not vote for women unless they're forced to.
Merci.
And with that small force, everything will change. Thank you so much.
Merci.